November 24th, 1971. A man wearing a simple black suit, a white shirt, and a black tie walked quietly into Portland International Airport. Nothing about him looked unusual. He wasn't nervous. He wasn't in a hurry. He smiled politely as he bought a one-way ticket. The name printed on that ticket was Dan Cooper. No passport, no luggage, no witnesses who remembered anything special. Just another businessman catching an afternoon flight. Or so everyone believed. Less than 2 hours later, that same man would calmly hand a flight attendant a small note and change American criminal history forever. Inside the note were only a few words. "Miss, you'd better look at that note. I have a bomb." At first, she thought he was joking. Passengers around them were laughing, reading newspapers, drinking coffee, completely unaware that they were sitting next to the most mysterious criminal America had ever seen. The man slowly opened his briefcase. Inside, rows of red cylinders, wires, and a battery. Whether it was real or fake, nobody dared find out. Without shouting, without threatening anyone, without firing a single shot, he hijacked an entire Boeing 727. Then, he demanded something almost impossible: $200,000 in cash, 4 parachutes, and a fuel truck waiting on the runway. The FBI thought they could catch him. The police surrounded the airport. Snipers prepared their rifles. Agents planned every possible escape. But they had no idea that within a few hours, this mysterious man would disappear into the darkness and become the only skyjacker in American history who was never identified. More than 50 years later, no one knows who he really was. No one knows if he survived. No body was ever found. No confession was ever proven. Only questions. Tonight, we reopen the FBI's most famous unsolved case, the mystery of D.B. Cooper. The afternoon of November 24, 1971, looked completely ordinary. Portland International Airport was busy, with travelers heading home for Thanksgiving. Businessmen hurried toward departure gates. Families carried wrapped gifts. Children watched airplanes through giant glass windows. Among hundreds of passengers, one man blended in perfectly. He appeared to be around 40 years old, approximately 6 feet tall, well-dressed, clean haircut, dark sunglasses. Nothing expensive, nothing flashy. Everything about him suggested discipline. Several witnesses would later describe him as calm, educated, and incredibly polite. He never raised his voice, never appeared stressed, never looked around nervously. He simply walked to the Northwest Orient Airlines counter and bought a ticket for Flight 305 to Seattle. The price, just $20, paid entirely in cash. The flight itself was expected to last less than 30 minutes. Nobody imagined it would become one of the most famous flights in aviation history. Dan Cooper quietly walked aboard the Boeing 727, choosing seat 18C near the rear of the aircraft. He ordered a bourbon and soda, lit a cigarette, crossed his legs, and patiently waited for takeoff. Everything looked perfectly normal, but investigators would later believe that almost every decision he made had been carefully planned. The Boeing 727 wasn't chosen by accident. Unlike most passenger aircraft, it had a unique feature: A rear staircase. That could be lowered during flight. Very few people outside aviation even knew it existed. Yet somehow, Dan Cooper seemed to know everything about it. He knew the aircraft. He knew the flight route. He knew the fuel limits. He even knew exactly how long the flight crew would need before contacting authorities. Nothing about this operation appeared random. Every minute, every movement, every word felt rehearsed. As Flight 305 climbed into the cloudy skies above Oregon, the passengers relaxed. Some read newspapers. Others closed their eyes. The cabin crew served drinks. Nobody noticed the quiet man in seat 18C watching every detail inside the aircraft. He wasn't looking outside the window. He was studying the crew, waiting for the perfect moment. Then, just after takeoff, he slowly reached into his pocket, pulled out a folded piece of paper, and handed it to a young flight attendant named Florence Schaffner. She smiled politely, thinking it was another passenger trying to flirt. She slipped the note into her pocket without reading it. Seconds later, the man leaned toward her and quietly whispered, "Miss, you better read the note." She unfolded the paper. Her face instantly changed. The words were simple, but terrifying. "I have a bomb." Florence Schaffner froze. For a brief moment, she couldn't breathe. She slowly looked up, meeting the man's eyes. There was no anger, no panic, no excitement, only complete confidence. In a calm voice, he gestured toward the empty seat beside him. "Sit down." She obeyed. Without another word, he quietly opened his black briefcase, just enough for her to see inside. Rows of red cylinders, a bundle of wires, a battery. It looked exactly like an explosive device. Whether it was real or an elaborate fake would remain one of the greatest unanswered questions of the entire case. He closed the briefcase immediately. No dramatic movements, no threats, no shouting. He simply spoke as if he were discussing business. Then he listed his demands. "I want $200,000, all in $20 bills, 4 parachutes, 2 main parachutes, 2 reserve parachutes, and a fuel truck waiting in Seattle. Nothing more, nothing less." Florence nodded silently, trying to hide the fear in her face. She walked toward the cockpit. Every step felt heavier than the last. Inside, the captain listened carefully. No one questioned the seriousness of the situation. The message reached air traffic control. Within minutes, the FBI, Seattle Police, Northwest Orient Airlines, and federal authorities were all pulled into an emergency operation unlike anything America had ever experienced. Meanwhile, inside the cabin, nothing seemed unusual. Passengers continued chatting. A businessman read the newspaper. A child looked out the window. Someone laughed near the front of the aircraft. Nobody knew. They were flying inside a hijacked airplane. Dan Cooper insisted on one thing: no panic, no sudden announcements. He wanted everything to remain completely normal. And somehow, it did. The crew continued serving drinks. The engines hummed steadily. The aircraft quietly changed course towards Seattle, while law enforcement scrambled on the ground. Inside an FBI office, phones rang nonstop. Agents debated every possibility. Who was this man? Was he military? Former Air Force? A bomb expert? A professional criminal? Or something else entirely? One detail immediately caught investigators' attention. The hijacker knew the Boeing 727 remarkably well. He requested specific flap settings, specific airspeed, specific altitude. He even understood fuel limitations better than many civilian pilots. Whoever he was, this wasn't luck. This was preparation. Months, perhaps years, of planning. As Flight 305 circled above Seattle, time became the hijacker's greatest weapon. He knew authorities needed time to collect cash, time to locate parachutes, time to prepare the airport. Instead of growing impatient, he calmly ordered another bourbon. He lit another cigarette. Witnesses later described him as the calmest hijacker imaginable. No screaming, no countdown, no irrational behavior, just patience. It almost seemed as though he knew everything was going exactly according to plan. Finally, after nearly 2 hours in the air, the aircraft received permission to land. Outside, Seattle-Tacoma Airport looked like a military operation. Police vehicles surrounded the runway. Ambulances waited nearby. FBI agents watched from hidden positions. Snipers searched for a clear shot. But nobody wanted to risk the lives of 36 innocent passengers. The aircraft rolled slowly toward the isolated section of the airport. Its engines remained running, exactly as Cooper had instructed. A fuel truck approached carefully. Moments later, bags containing $200,000 and 4 parachutes were loaded onto the aircraft. Everything the mysterious hijacker had requested was now in his hands. The passengers never saw what happened next. One by one, they were released, without injury, without violence, without a single gunshot being fired. Dan Cooper kept only 4 people on board: Captain William Scott, First Officer William Radixak, Flight Engineer Harold Anderson, and Flight Attendant Tina Mucklow. Now, the real operation was about to begin. The engines roared back to life. Outside, FBI agents watched helplessly. No one knew where the aircraft was heading. Cooper handed the pilots a sheet of paper. His instructions were surprisingly detailed. Fly toward Mexico City. Maintain an altitude of only 10,000 feet. Keep the landing gear partially deployed. Flaps set at 15 degrees. Maintain a speed of approximately 170 knots. And most importantly, leave the rear staircase unlocked. The pilots exchanged nervous glances. These were not random instructions. Someone who had never studied the Boeing 727 would never know such details. The FBI would later spend years asking the same question. Who exactly was this man? The aircraft lifted into the dark November sky. Rain lashed against the windows. Strong winds swept across the Pacific Northwest. Visibility was poor. The temperature outside had dropped close to freezing. If Cooper truly intended to jump, he had chosen one of the worst nights imaginable. Inside the cabin, everything became strangely quiet. Cooper calmly counted the money. $20 bills, bundled in bank straps. Exactly $200,000. He carefully placed the cash inside a canvas bag. Then, he inspected each parachute. Investigators would later discover something extraordinary. He deliberately selected one functional reserve parachute, while leaving another behind. To many FBI experts, this suggested he understood parachuting better than an ordinary civilian. Flight attendant Tina Mucklow remained seated nearby. Years later, she would describe him as remarkably calm. He wasn't angry. He wasn't excited. He simply behaved like a man following a carefully rehearsed plan. At one point, she even offered to help him attach the parachute. He politely refused. Then he gave her one final instruction: go to the cockpit and close the door. She hesitated. It was the last time anyone would ever see D.B. Cooper. Alive or dead. The cockpit door closed. Only the sound of the engines filled the aircraft. Minutes passed. No one spoke. Then, a warning light illuminated inside the cockpit. The rear staircase had been lowered. Captain Scott immediately realized what it meant. Cooper was preparing to jump. The crew requested permission to turn around. There was no answer, only silence. At 8:13 p.m., the pilots felt something unusual. A sudden upward movement, almost like the aircraft had become lighter. Not violent, just enough for experienced pilots to notice. The Boeing 727 stabilized moments later. No radio message, no explosion, no scream, nothing. Somewhere, over the forests of southwest Washington, a man carrying $200,000 had stepped into complete darkness. Outside, the weather was merciless. Heavy rain, powerful winds, near freezing temperatures, dense forests stretching for miles below. If he survived the jump, he would still face an impossible journey through wilderness. If he failed, his body might never be found. Either way, history had just witnessed something unprecedented. The pilots continued flying for several more minutes before receiving permission to land. When the aircraft finally touched down, FBI agents stormed aboard. Weapons drawn. Every second mattered. They searched every seat, every compartment, every corner of the aircraft. The rear staircase was still lowered. Several parachute cords were missing. The money was gone, and so was D.B. Cooper. No footprints, no fingerprints leading away, no witnesses on the ground, no parachute found nearby. Nothing, only an empty airplane. And the beginning of one of the greatest mysteries in American history. The moment Flight 305 landed, the investigation exploded into action. Hundreds of FBI agents, state police officers, military personnel, and local volunteers were deployed across Washington state. The search area covered hundreds of square miles. Dense forests, steep mountains, frozen rivers, an endless wilderness. If Cooper had survived, he couldn't have gone far. At least, that was the FBI's first assumption. Helicopters scanned the forest from sunrise to sunset. Military aircraft flew repeated search patterns. Search teams crossed rivers on foot. Police dogs followed every possible trail. Every abandoned campsite, every piece of clothing, every footprint was examined. But the mountains refused to reveal their secret. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. Still, nothing. No parachute. No body. No money. Not a single confirmed trace of D.B. Cooper. The FBI then shifted its focus. If they couldn't find the man, perhaps they could identify him. Investigators interviewed every passenger, every crew member, airport employees, taxi drivers, store owners, anyone who might have seen him before boarding. Using witness descriptions, an FBI sketch artist created the now famous portrait of the mysterious hijacker. A middle-aged man, dark hair, calm eyes, a thin smile. That sketch would become one of the most recognized faces in FBI history. Then came the fingerprints. Agents carefully dusted the aircraft. Hundreds of prints were collected. Most belonged to passengers, but a handful could belong to Cooper. Unfortunately, technology in the early 1970s was limited. No national digital database existed. No match was ever found. Years later, DNA technology would improve dramatically. But by then, many key pieces of evidence had been lost or contaminated. The trail was growing colder. Investigators also recovered several personal items left behind on the aircraft. His black clip-on tie, a tie clip, a few cigarette butts. Ironically, those cigarette butts, which could have contained the best DNA evidence, were later lost. One of the biggest mistakes in the history of the investigation. The tie, however, remained. Decades later, modern forensic scientists examined it using technology unavailable in 1971. Under powerful microscopes, they discovered microscopic particles of titanium, rare industrial metals, and specialized manufacturing residues. To some experts, this suggested Cooper may have worked in aerospace, chemical engineering, or advanced manufacturing. It wasn't proof, but it was another piece of a puzzle that refused to come together. For years, the FBI investigated hundreds of suspects: military veterans, parachutists, former airline employees, professional criminals, even ordinary businessmen. More than 800 people would eventually become suspects. Each one eliminated, one after another, until the investigation reached another dead end. Then, 9 years later, something extraordinary happened. February 1980. A young boy named Brian Ingram was spending the day with his family along the Columbia River at a place called Tina Bar. While digging in the sand, he uncovered something unusual: bundles of old $20 bills. The money was badly damaged, waterlogged, partially buried beneath layers of sand. When authorities examined the serial numbers, their hearts nearly stopped. Every bill matched the ransom money given to D.B. Cooper in 1971. Nearly $5,800 had returned. But Cooper had not. The discovery created more questions than answers. How had the money reached the river? Had Cooper drowned? Did the current carry part of the ransom downstream? Or had someone deliberately buried the money years later? Even today, scientists still debate the answer. The FBI continued chasing new leads. One suspect after another filled newspaper headlines: Richard McCoy, Robert Rackstraw, Kenneth Christiansen, William Gossett. Each seemed convincing. Each had supporters. Each had serious flaws. None could be proven beyond doubt. No fingerprints matched. No DNA confirmed their identity. No witness could say with certainty, "That is D.B. Cooper." More than 4 decades passed. Millions of dollars were spent, thousands of interviews conducted, countless theories published, yet the mystery remained untouched. Then, in 2016, the FBI made an unexpected announcement. After 45 years, the Bureau officially suspended active investigation into the case. Not because it had been solved, but because every promising lead had reached another dead end. The mystery would remain open to history. So, what really happened that stormy night? Did Cooper land safely, hide the money, and quietly begin a new life under another name? Or did the freezing wind, the heavy rain, and the unforgiving forests of Washington claim him forever? No one knows. Perhaps no one ever will. More than 50 years later, the name D.B. Cooper still fascinates investigators, historians, and millions of people around the world. One ordinary airline ticket became the beginning of America's greatest unsolved mystery. So now, the question is yours. Do you believe D.B. Cooper survived? Or do you think he disappeared forever somewhere in the mountains of Washington? Tell me your theory in the comments below. If you enjoyed this documentary, don't forget to subscribe, because the world's greatest mysteries are far from over. Fade to black.